Hey guys, I'm super excited to announce to you that my rating has been set to 200. That's right, chess.com set my rating to 200. Now you might be saying, Nelson, why are you excited about that? Well, let me explain. So chess.com actually allowed me to create a second account, set my rating to 200, and now I can use that account as a speed run or rating climb account. If you don't know what that means, essentially I started a very low rating level, work my way up to a higher rating level, and you guys get to see all the games that are played and how that happens. So whatever your rating level is, you can see how I beat players at that rating level. So we're going to be starting at rating 200 and working our way up to 2200. Let me go ahead and show you the account. All right, so here we go. You can see it says authorized speedrun account of Chess Vibes. All points lost to this account will be refunded. So it's not exactly fair that I play against a 200 rated player, right? So they are going to be getting their points back. You're wondering why it's called Peter Potzer. Well, a lot of you who are regulars on the channel will recognize that name. If you're unfamiliar with that, it's a chess adventure series on the channel here starring Bobby Fischerman, Average Joe, and Peter Potzer. He's one of the characters in that story, and so I thought it made sense to go with Peter Potzer. You can see over here on the right, my rapid and my blitz rating are 200. So we will be working towards 2200 on both of those. We'll probably get 2 speedruns out of this account. I'm super excited. Big shout out to chess.com. Thank you for generously giving me this account and allowing me to do this. I really do appreciate it, and I think you guys are going to learn a ton. But having said that, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the rapid. We're going to go from 200 to 300. Let's go. All right, here we go. We're going to queue up for our first game as Peter Potzer rated 200. Let's go. All right, and while we're waiting for this, let me actually, oh, here we go. We have a game, 224. So at this rating level, there's only going to be 2 things that I'm really focusing on. My king, I don't want to get checkmated in one move or just some cheap checkmate trick. I'm going to be focusing on my opponent's king as well. Like, can I checkmate them? Let me go ahead and make a move here. But also my pieces, okay? My queen, my rook, my bishop, my knight. I don't want to lose these pieces, okay? So those are the 2 things, this and then the pieces. And then the kind of the flip side of that is my opponent's pieces, right? Can I take those pieces? Do they blunder those pieces? Now, what's the number one thing? My king, right? What does it look like my opponent might be doing? I have to make a move, so I'm going to make a move here. But what does this look like they're doing? This looks like they're attacking my king. So I'm expecting this might be coming next, right? And I'm going to not get checkmated in one move, right? That's my goal, okay? If I succeed here, I mean, there's a good chance my opponent might just resign. Okay, they're not going. I was totally expecting a 4-move checkmate attempt. Maybe they're going to try to be clever about it and come down here. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is just bring my knight out. Now, there's also some other principles. Control the center of the board. Develop your pieces, right? Get them off the back rank. I'm going to do that, but I'm not really focusing on that. I'm focusing on, like I said, my king and my pieces. I don't want to lose my pieces, okay? So I'm going to be constantly scanning as we play this game. Is my piece in danger? Is my piece in danger? Are my opponent's pieces in danger, right? Can I take them? So can I take the queen? Not right now. Can I take the knight? Not right now. Is my opponent going to take any of my pieces? I don't think so. But if I play knight to f6, now I'm threatening the queen. This is a big deal, okay? And as long as I don't miss these kind of moments throughout this game, I'm probably going to win, okay? So I'm not going to be focusing on super complicated, advanced tactics. We're just going to be focusing on the basics. Bring out our pieces and look for these kind of things, all right? So let's see if our 224 rated opponent is going to notice that the queen is under attack. He did. So, or they did. So very nice. Our opponent did say that. So again, I'm going to ask myself the question, can I take the queen where it is? No, I can't. So I'm going to make a move, right? I'm just going to make a move. Let's just play d6. Maybe it's not the greatest move, but I'm going to just kind of illustrate you can win at this level without playing super complicated moves, right? So we're going to play d6. It's maybe not the greatest move because it blocks my bishop, but I'm not worried about that right now. Like I said, we're focusing on those 2 things. My king safe? Am I going to be checkmated? No. What about my opponents? Do I have a checkmate? No. And then are my pieces going to get captured? No. Everything is defended right now. So I'm happy. And can I take my opponent's pieces? Not yet. Now, some of you might be thinking, Nelson, you could have taken this pawn for free. And I could have. But again, I'm not worried about the pawns. Because see, what sometimes happens at this level is a lot of players, they try to think about everything and they end up missing the important things, right? So if you're constantly like, okay, let me check all the pawns and let me check all these fancy ideas that I have going around in my head, you miss the obvious ones. So you say, well, yeah, you didn't see it. No, I wasn't even looking at that. I'm not, right? I'm trying to show you, like, focus on these things and watch what's going to happen. We're probably going to win this game. Okay, so look at my king. Am I worried about this? Well, it's only one piece. I could recapture, and none of white's pieces can take that, so I'm okay. That being said, maybe we'll go here and offer a trade. Seems like a fine trade. And I am threatening to just take that. All right, so let's see what's going to happen. All right, our opponent's been thinking for quite a while. We now have an advantage on the clock. And while I'm mentioning the clock, I'll just say in a 10-minute game, at the lower levels, I would say take as much time as you need until you get down to a certain level. So generally what I like to do is pick a time in my head before the game starts. So if it's a 10-minute game, maybe that's 2 minutes, or maybe if you really don't like time pressure, you could say 3 or 4 minutes, where once you hit that level, you're going to start trying to go a little faster. Okay, so for me, for this example, let's just say that that's 3 minutes. So until I get to 3 minutes, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to just focus on not making mistakes. And once we hit the 3-minute mark, that's when I'll try to maybe speed up a little bit and not run out of time. Okay, so that's a good habit to get into. I don't know if our opponent has decided to abandon the game or if they are just thinking for a long time. So we will see here in a bit. Yeah, so it's looking like our opponent may have disconnected or abandoned the game since they're still not moving. While we're waiting, we can go back and kind of just analyze this. So, one other bonus thing that you can do is whenever your opponent makes a move, just ask yourself a simple question. Are they attacking anything by going there? And so if you look at this, you would see three things, right? They're attacking. Yeah, opponent's about to auto resign. And so that's why I played the move knight to c6, because I wanted to just defend my pawn, right? So that's kind of a good thing to think about. Are they attacking anything? So maybe I could have played d6 to defend that. I decided to counterattack instead. Okay, so we did win the game. Unfortunately, not much of a game since our opponent did abandon the game. So let's go ahead and continue on, and hopefully the next game will be a little bit better. All right, here we go. All right, we have a 188 rated opponent, also plays e4, and we'll just keep it simple. We'll play e5. Why not? Remember, I'm focusing on my king. I don't want to get checkmated. That's super important. And then also my big pieces. I don't want to lose my big pieces for free. And if I see opportunities to take my opponent's big pieces, that's what I really want to focus on. Okay. Yes, if you can, think about pawns as well. But like I mentioned earlier, don't get so caught up in the pawns that you forget about the big pieces. And I have to move or I'm going to resign. So I'll just play a different move here. Not the greatest move because it does block my bishop. But again, at this low level, I just want to illustrate that you don't have to play perfect moves. If you focus on those couple of things, you can probably win most of your games. All right, so we'll just bring out a piece. I did check that my opponent wasn't about to take any of my pieces with that last move. Didn't notice anything. Okay, again, is my opponent about to take any of my pieces? Now they are. And then there's also this bishop, which nothing is really happening here. So am I concerned about this? Not really. It's attacked 2 times. It's defended 2 times. You can see that the queens are lined up, but that's getting a little bit advanced for this rating level. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to play a developing move, bring a piece out, right? If this is going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to ask myself the question, is my opponent about to take my piece? Maybe they are. Do I really care? It's defended. And so I'm not super concerned. You want to know your point values, right? So knights and bishops are both 3 points. So that's an even trade. I'm okay, giving up 3. If I get 3, that's not a big deal, right? If it was like a queen, I was going to trade a queen for a bishop, that would be a different story, okay? I was attacking that. Maybe I would want to take that, or even just trying to get my king castled to safety or bringing out, one of these bishops is fine. So we'll just go with this move. It lines up here, pins the knight, and this is kind of a good thing to keep in mind. If somebody pins one of your knights and kind of takes it out of the game as far as defending the center, there's kind of two things you can do. Number one is you could block to break the pin that way. Another thing is you can counterpin the other knight over here. So white took my knight out of the game, no longer defending this pawn, but I took white's knight out of the game. It's no longer attacking this pawn, right? So that's kind of a way to do it. Okay, you know what? Again, let's just bring out a piece. Not super concerned with this move. It doesn't really threaten any of my major pieces. Okay, and could I take this? Sure, could have taken that. That would have been a fine move, but I'm going to try to get my king castled. And white's actually playing pretty well this game, I would say. White hasn't really made any massive blunders, which is a little bit surprising, but that's fine. We're just going to keep doing our thing consistently for the duration of the game. Okay, so we're going to just castle. This move didn't really concern me. Remember, don't want to get checkmated. Can I checkmate my opponent and focus on these big pieces? If we do that for the whole game, we're probably going to win. Okay? All right, so b3. Does it really attack anything? Not really. It lets the bishop out here. Not too concerned with that. So this is kind of a point in the game when a lot of players struggle with what to do. They've gotten their pieces out. They've castled. Now it's like, okay, what do I do now? So what I like to do is look at the pieces that I can capture and try to find the best option. So let's just go through this very slowly. I could take this. That's one. Okay. I could take this. That's two. I could take this. That's three. I could take this. That's four. Look around again. I don't see any other captures. So, all right, we have kind of four things to consider. Which one would be the best? Well, this one I can rule out right away as not being a good option, right? I'm going to lose my knight. This is 3 points. This is 1 point. I don't want to give up 3 for 1. That doesn't make sense, right? This one looks like an even trade. So 3 for 3. So that could be a fine move. This one is, you might say it's a more advanced move, but if we remember this pin that we had, this seems to be a good one to capture because the knight is essentially out of the game. It's not really defending this pawn. So if you were to imagine this knight disappears for a second, there's really only the queen defending the pawn, and I have two attackers. So this looks like the better move to me. Now, which way should we take? Should we take with the pawn? Should we take with the knight? This is a little bit more advanced, but let's just go ahead and think through it anyway. The pawn attacks the knight. Is that an easy or hard threat to deal with? It's pretty easy. White could just move the knight away. Still a good move. But if I take with this knight, I'm attacking this guy, which is pinned, which kind of looks pretty tricky for white to deal with. Also, it's attacking his bishop. Now, it's defended at the moment, but this looks very, very good. And as a general rule, if you have the option to kind of centralize one of your pieces, especially knights, that's really, really good. So with all that thought about, I'm going to capture this with the knight. And this is going to put white in a very difficult situation because they have a problem here. They also have this bishop, which they have to keep an eye on. And so I think that's a great move. So let's see how white's going to respond to that. And by the way, the only reason we could do this, if you remember, is because we castled, right? We were pinned before when our king was here, but now we've moved our king out of the way, which gives us the option to do this. So you can see another reason why it's important to castle early on in the game. And notice how in these games, I'm really only moving 2 pawns. That's really all you need to do. Like, just moving these 2 center pawns gives you all the space that you need to get all your pieces out and to castle. Okay? So you really, if at all possible, try not to move these side pawns early in the game. Just leave them there. And move your 2 center pawns, and then move all your pieces out. And then castle. And then start looking for stuff that you can take. Okay. So great opportunity here for us. Let's again go through the same process. What can we capture and which is the best option? Well, we could take this pawn, undefended. That's pretty good. It's a pawn, 1 point. We could take this knight 2 different ways. It's only defended 1 time, so that actually looks pretty good. And that kind of has the bonus that we're going to be opening up white's king, right? If they are forced to capture with this pawn, the pawn is no longer defending their king, and you can imagine maybe we can come in and attack the king. Okay, great. Also, remember this bishop that we talked about. Now, the knight that was defending it has been moved away. And then we can also take these. So with all of those options, which one do you guys think is the best? These are kind of our options. Which one is the best? Well, it's a tough decision. The simplest option and the easiest to kind of calculate is taking the bishop. It's a free piece. That's a very good move. So definitely, I think you can't go wrong if you play that. The other one that looks really good to me is capturing with the knight, because I see that after this recapture, I'm going to end up with a bishop lined up across my opponent's king. That's very, very dangerous for my opponent. Okay, so definitely could see this being the best option. So let's go ahead and go for this one, and maybe we'll get a chance to attack the king. But this also would have been a perfectly great move, just taking that bishop for free. Okay, so both of those are great. This one, I'm focusing more on going for a checkmate instead of just taking pieces. The other one, I'm focusing more on what do I get the most points from, right? Both are good strategies, and both will probably lead to a win in this type of game. But this one, I want to illustrate how we can potentially attack the king, okay? So, kind of like I mentioned, I'm going to recapture that. And what's so good about this is if you look carefully, the king can't move. Our opponent's king cannot move. Whenever you have a situation like that, that could be a flag to you like, hey, there might be a potential for some kind of a checkmate here. All right. So if we're kind of trying to think through this, how would we best checkmate our opponent's king based on this situation? Well, the answer is use our queen, right? If you can get your queen close to your opponent's king, that's one of the best. Wow, wow. Our opponent plays a really good move. So I was hoping that they were just going to leave our bishop alone and we could have continued on going for the checkmate. However, they're actually attacking us. And I was going to recommend this move before to bring the queen over here for checkmate. Unfortunately, now we can't do that, right? Because our bishop is being attacked. Remember what I said, don't lose our pieces, right? So if we want to move the bishop somewhere, where should we move to? Well, I'm going to look at captures first and foremost, right? Always look at captures first and then move on to other moves. This looks like a simple trade to me. This, if I look carefully, is actually defended by my knight. So that looks like a free pawn to me, and I will go ahead and capture that. Now, I think I mentioned it earlier in the video about when you get to a certain point in time, you want to start moving faster so you don't run out of time. We are kind of getting to that point, right? We're getting to that 3-minute mark. So what does that mean? I'm going to start moving a little bit faster. Now, obviously, I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to talk a little bit less in an effort to speed up, right? And I'm going to focus on my king. And I don't like this queen lined up on my king. That scares me. So what I'm going to do is play a very safe move here. It's not the best move in the position, I don't think, but it's a move that I want to illustrate. This is a great defensive move. It blocks off the queen from my king. Now, I didn't know what my opponent was going to do next, but I'm just being proactive and saying, nope, I'm just going to shut down any ideas of that queen checkmating my king right away, right? For example, this bishop could have come over here and there could have been a potential checkmate threat. I just stopped that altogether. Now, was that the best move in the position? Probably not. I probably should have taken a pawn or maybe done something else, but I want to defend my king. Okay, opponent's doing a pretty nice job actually of attacking my king. This is a solid move. So, in an effort to not think too long, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to take it. Uh-oh. Disconnected. I don't think I've been disconnected actually. Looks like we're still connected. I'm not sure why it said that. So I'm just going to take it. When pawns are, kind of charging towards your king, that's maybe a good option. Because if it was going to go here and attack my bishop, that could have been a problem. Okay. Opponent's playing very well. In this position, what I'm going to try to do is activate my queen. And the way that I'm going to do that is by playing c6. So this is a good move to let out your queen along this diagonal. It gives you lots of options with your queen. And I have the bonus here that I'm also attacking the bishop. Okay, so probably white's going to move the bishop, and then we can think about moving our queen into the game. And I'm thinking about maybe queen to b6 is a move. Maybe queen to a5, just to give it some options, right? Because right now it's kind of blocked by my own pieces. I don't really have a lot that I can do with the queen. So this is a good way to get it into the game. Keeping an eye on the time, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I have to play pretty quickly. So I'm going to be focusing on simple things. I'm not going to be focusing on like, all right, let me calculate 5 moves deep here and look for a 5-move checkmate. No, I'm focusing on simple and easy things, right? Okay, like, do I want to take this bishop? Probably could, but again, I don't want to open up that queen, so I'm going to leave it alone, and I think what I will actually do is just push my pawn forward. And again, this way it activates my bishop. Now I kind of give my bishop some options, okay? So I'm trying to kind of think about how can I use my pieces better, right? So that's what these last two moves were. I have the option to go here with the check, here with the check, and let's see what white's going to do first. I'm imagining they might take here, and I'll just recapture. And both of these captures are fine. Generally speaking, the rule is you want to capture towards the center. But in this case, I'm actually considering this because it opens up my rook, which might be an attacking piece. So we will see. I think our opponent's actually playing very, very well. Okay, so in an effort to not think too much, I'm just going to capture the pawn. And it does open up this. And so when you're getting lower on time, trading pieces can be a good thing. Because if you get to the end of the game, it can be a little bit easier to manage. And so I think I will take this. Now, I said I was defending, so I just want to double check. Am I going to get checkmated if I move this bishop? This is very important. The answer is no, because nothing is defending the queen. I could just recapture it. So because of that, I'm fine. I will go ahead and trade off this piece. Okay. Yeah, opponent's playing very, very well. So looking at the king, looking at this rook, I see a little tactic here. I think I will go for that. So let's play check. And basically, I'm trying to capture the rook. Now, remember what I said. Number one thing is I don't want to get checkmated. So I'm going to be paying close attention here. And opponent is playing very, very strong moves for the rating. So they're blocking the check, and they also defended their rook. So very powerful move. So what I'm going to do is, again, look for the pieces, right? Look for the pieces that I can take. This one's defended. This one is not. Not defended anymore because the queen. So I'm going to take that one. And now I'm down to 1 minute. I don't really have a lot of time to keep thinking or I'm going to lose on time. So if you ever find yourself in this situation, I want you to tell yourself, I just have to move. I just have to make a move. Even if you lose because you blunder, you have to make a move or you will lose on time. So you have to tell yourself, look, I might lose the game. That's okay. I'm going to make a move anyway. All right. So I might lose the game. I'm going to make a move anyway. I'm just going to move here to defend my bishop. Now, I'm playing pretty good moves because I can see, like, very quickly. You might be blundering. That's okay. Just make moves, right? Just keep making moves. So that's going to be our goal. We're not going to lose this game on time. If our opponent plays super great moves for the rest of the game and we lose because they just outplayed us, hey, it happens, right? But I'm just going to play moves. I'm not going to lose on time. That's kind of my mindset here, okay? So one thing you can do is when your opponent's thinking, start coming up with ideas for moves, right? And then just play one as soon as they make their move. So what I'm looking at now is like bishop here to attack the queen, bishop here to put my opponent's king in check. And if you give yourself kind of multiple moves in the back of your mind, then when it's your turn, you'll have some options that you can quickly think through, okay? So I'm thinking of this. Wow, he took that one away, but he gave me the pawn, so I'll take it. And notice how I had those two options in my head, and I could quickly kind of decide, okay, this one's bad because he's going to take me. This one's good because I was going to go there anyway. Okay, I'm looking at the pieces. I see that I can take this, and maybe I could think about which way to take, but since I'm running out of time, I'm just going to pick one and go, right? Just capture it quick. Okay. Again, I'm looking at the big pieces, right? And I see this is free, so I'll take the queen. And again, just got to make a move, right? Just got to make a move. So I'll just take this. Was it the best move? Maybe not. I think knight g4 might have been better, but to illustrate the point, just make a move. That's what you want to do, okay? And opponent was playing very well, actually. So very surprising there. Let's bring this rook down, and now I'm seeing lots of checkmating opportunities here. And 22 seconds should be plenty of time. So I have an option here for checkmate, option here for checkmate. And okay, I'll just go for this one. All right. So really good game, I think, by our opponent. For, rated 188, I think they played very, very well. Actually, I want to check the game review on that. I'm just curious for my own sake to see. Yeah, they played with a 71 accuracy. That is fantastically good. So well played to my opponent. I'll show you guys this. Let's just see what the estimated rating was. I'm just curious. 500 and 700. Okay. had a 700 accuracy. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. We got a little lesson in the time management aspect there at the end. And that's something that's tough because there's two problems. Sometimes people, they play too fast too early and they just blunder. And then you have the other people who they wait too long and they keep thinking and they keep thinking and they keep thinking until they have like 3 seconds left on the clock. And it's like, you're going to lose on time guaranteed. You had to make moves earlier. And so set those times in your head of, okay, I'm at the 3-minute mark. I got to make a move. Okay, I'm at the 1-minute mark. I just have to make moves, right? That's super important. Let's go for a new 10-minute game. All right, now we're playing against a 300 rated opponent. Let's, we'll play E5 again. We'll keep it maybe consistent here. So let's go ahead and develop. Okay, so this person's playing very quickly. I'm watching out for my king, and I'm just going to keep an eye on that. Now, right now, I'm not worried. I will just take it. And so this also happens to be an opening. All right, great. So we have, this is a tough position to explain if you're rated 200. Basically, what I'm looking at is, okay, what did my opponent do the last couple moves, right? And I can see that they are attacking this pawn. It's also by my king. So it's a very dangerous pawn. And if I'm not careful, I might get forked. Even just the check is annoying because now I can't castle and I have to move here, which is not really a great move. And if you look around, this is one of those weird situations where there's not really an obvious good move, right? You can't defend this with your knight. You can't defend it with the bishop. You can't defend it with the rook. The only option that you really have is to block it off with d5. You block off the bishop. That's kind of the only option, unless you were familiar with the Traxler, which is much more complicated than I want to get into for a 200 rated video. So the best move here that we could find is blocking it off, d5, trying to save this from happening. And our opponent, I think, has played this before because they're playing super quickly, right? And again, this is a tough position. The obvious move here is to capture, which is going to allow the fried liver attack. I think for this video, I'm going to do it because I want to illustrate what you would do in that kind of situation. Knowing the theory, I would not play this move because it's an opening that I've studied, and I would play some tricky move like knight to a5 is one that I usually play, even knight to d4. I did a video on the channel recently where there's some really cool lines, but I want to see what happens if let's just say we didn't know that, okay? And we thought to ourselves, well, take the pawn, right? He's going to take here with the knight. Yeah, this is the fried liver attack. But I'm going to follow the same principles and see how this game goes, okay? So it looks like a free piece. I'm going to take it. Now, it's not. This is coming, and it's pretty clear to me. Yeah, it's pretty clear to me that the opponent knows this. So we have two options. We go here to defend our piece, or we can just give it up now, retreat, and go on with the game. They both could be instructive in different ways. And I'm trying to think which one I want to go with. Because sometimes you're playing a game and you make a mistake, right? And you find yourself in a bad position. How do you fight back from that? It's I think that would be a good lesson. So I think what I'm going to do is not play the best move here. Intentionally give white this piece to show you guys how I would try to kind of come back from that. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move. Let's just say I just move back here, which is, it's not a good move. I know it's not because it allows white to just capture this. But I want to show you guys, like I mentioned, how can we come back from this? Okay. So the first thing I want to go identify is what are the major threats here? This looks pretty serious to me, right? White's going to capture that. What else? This is checkmate, right? Especially at this level, always want to be watching out for this square. If the queen ever lands there with something defending it, you're probably going to get checked. It's probably checkmate. So is there a way that I can kind of deal with this and kind of deal with the checkmate at the same time? And if I look around carefully, a couple of moves come to mind. Maybe queen to d7 and maybe queen to f6. Now, queen to d7, I don't really like it because it blocks my bishop in. So I'm going to go queen to f6. And what I'm doing is just trying to deal with the threats as best I can. And even though I'm losing, I'm in a losing position already. What's going to happen is if I keep doing this over the course of the game, at some point, my opponent's going to make a mistake. And that's when you jump on him, okay? So here, I have two options to recapture. Let's just take this way. We'll keep the queens on the board for now. And notice it's defended. And let's see what white is going to do now. So, I mean, I say I'm in a losing position. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's one pawn. It's one pawn and the fact that I can't castle. But really, that's so tiny. Like, that's not going to be the deciding factor in this game. That's not. What would have been a deciding factor is if I missed the checkmate, right? Or if I, make a move like this with my queen and lose my queen. Those are going to be the deciding factors, okay? So what I'm going to do now is think about developing a piece and maybe attacking something at the same time. If you can do two things at once, that's usually a pretty good thing. Now, a really strong move would be maybe bishop a6, stopping castling, but then there's also d3, so maybe not. So I think what I'll do is just go bishop c5. So I'm developing my piece, but I'm also creating an attack here. And we'll see if white is going to notice that. Wow, g4. Okay, so white does not notice my threat here. Okay, so I am going to take that. It's a question of which way do I want to take it. And generally speaking, bringing the queen closer to the king is probably the way to go. So we'll do that. In this case, they both look decent, but we'll take it with the queen. Got it defended, and it's going to force the king over here. So already, we're kind of back in this game, right? Just like that. There's one little mistake by our opponent, and, here we go. So remember, I can't castle. I would love to castle, but I can't because I've already moved my king. So that's one thing. But what I can do is maybe bring my rook over like this and try to use it this way. Now, there's going to be a check here, but it looks like I can probably slide my king to the side. I think that's okay. And bringing this rook into the game looks very, very powerful. And so I'm going to go ahead and do it. One thing about this move, my bishop is defended by my queen. So that's okay. I actually didn't even see that. Being completely honest with you guys, I didn't even see that. So this is a good move by our opponent. Well, I say it's a good move. It looks like a good move because they're gonna attack the rook. I think it's actually a bad move because the king. So what do I mean? This is a good moment to kind of think through this. So whenever you're in a position like this, you're always going to be asking yourself the question of, okay, what are the primary features of the position? Okay, one primary feature of this position is white's king is not in a good position. It can't move anywhere. Okay, so if I were to deliver a check to the king, that would be basically checkmate. Now I can't right now because I need to move. I'm in check. This is another feature in the position. I'm about to lose a rook here. But of those two features, which one is bigger? Well, the checkmating the king. So yes, I'm going to lose a rook because I wasn't paying attention. But if I can get a checkmate, who cares? So thinking through this, I would like to go here next move. I'm anticipating my opponent's going to take my rook, right? Where do I want to move my king to? Or do I want to block with the bishop? Which move would make the most sense? So king here, here, or block with the bishop, or king here. Which move would make the most sense? Well, based on what I just explained, king here, probably. And here's why. If I block with the bishop and the queen takes, it's check. Then I have to move my king, and then maybe the queen can go somewhere to defend, right? If I go king here and this captures, guess what? My bishop is now stuck to my king. So because of all that, I'm going to go king to e7 so that when white captures here, I can go here for checkmate. Basically my plan. Okay, so a little bit advanced calculating there, but yeah, I wanted to just kind of explain the thought process. So yeah, and there you go. So here we go, and it's game over, right? Because it's just checkmate. The queen can block for one move, and then we take it, and it's game over. So even going back a few moves, even blundering here, I blundered this, guys. I didn't see it. I was looking at some other stuff. I missed it. But even blundering that, if you keep your eyes on the prize of, okay, we got to look for checkmates when the king is in this kind of situation. I was kind of looking at this move ahead of time, but I couldn't do it because the queen was defending. And then even here, it's like, oh, oops, I'm still going to win the game now because of the checkmate. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. And we did kind of come back from, we'll review it in just a second. I'll let our opponent finish off the game here, and then we'll talk about it. So I want to talk about that opening. I think that's a very instructive moment. So opponent only has one move. There you go. And we can take it for checkmate. Okay. So let's go back real quick here and look at this opening. So we were in trouble, right? Our opponent kind of tricked us, you might say, by knowing this opening better than we did. Okay, they knew this was a great move, the fried liver attack. They knew that, and they knew that the follow-up was here, and we didn't know we were supposed to actually go and defend it. And we just went back here. And we're in a bad position here. This is not really good for us. However, we focused on what are the big threats, and we continued to do that throughout the game, and we slowly worked our way back in, right? We developed and attacked. That was a pretty big threat that our opponent missed, right? And we took advantage of that. And what did we get from that? Well, we got the fact that now White's king is in trouble. And then even here, I wasn't even paying attention. This wasn't on my radar. And yet, we were able to get the checkmate because we were kind of focusing on that. So I hope that helps. Let's play another game. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. All right, new 10-minute. All right, we're playing a 100 rated opponent. They played d4 this time, so that's interesting. Let's just play d5. We'll just mirror their pawn. Okay, and let's just develop our pieces. And we're going to be constantly scanning, same type of things. Looking for checkmates, looking for mistakes. And what do I notice about this pawn? It's not defended. So probably want to take it. Which way should I take it? Bishop. Why the bishop? My knight's already developed. The bishop is not. I want to develop all my pieces, so we'll take it this way. Okay, let's check our opponent's last move. Doesn't really threaten anything. The knight's in the way anyway. I'm going to continue. Develop my pieces, right? Get them out. Okay, what did they attack something by going there? Not really. Maybe this, but I don't really care. What am I going to do? Move a pawn. Bonus tip here, if your opponent has not castled and you're ahead in development, a lot of times it's good to open up the center. And so instead of going just one, I'm going to go two. I'm going to go 2 moves forward. And again, I'm going to kind of stick with my plan here of only moving these 2 pawns forward if I can, right? Getting my pieces out. All right, so they're allowing me to capture that. I think I will. And again, remember what I said about if you can centralize a knight, a lot of times that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll just put our knight in the center there. And what I'm doing now while my opponent is thinking is I'm planning what I'm going to do next. Okay. Remember what I said about looking at the pieces. So here it's important to know your piece values. Rooks are 5. Bishops are 3. Should I take the rook? Yeah. I give up 3. I get 5. It's a good trade. I take that. You have to know your piece values. Otherwise, you might be wondering like, well, I don't know. I like bishops. They're pretty tricky. And rooks are kind of annoying. But should I take it? No. Follow the point values. They're there for a reason. And trust me, it works out like 99 times out of 100. The point values actually do make sense. All right. So queens are 9. Rooks are 5. Knights and bishops are 3. Pawns are 1. Keep that in mind when you're thinking about, should I take this? No. 1. This is 3. Should I take the rook? Yes. That's 5. My bishop was only 3. Okay. Let's out the queen. Maybe I take it. Maybe white takes me. Maybe I leave it and I capture here. So because the trade doesn't really do much for me, in fact, it actually helps white, I think, I'm going to just leave it. And I'm going to castle. Okay? So everything about this game is going great. I've got my pieces developed. I have castled kingside. I have 2 pawns. No more. Just 2 pawns in the center. Great. Now, what is a good follow-up? Well, remember what I said about centralizing a knight. I'm thinking about going here. Now, I don't know if I want to allow white to trade that, but I am thinking about it for 2 reasons. Number 1, it centralizes a knight, but number 2, it lets my queen out, which looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So I'm definitely considering that. The other thing is bringing a rook to the center. This is also a pretty good strategy. So both of these moves look like they make sense to me. I think I'm going to actually just go with the rook. And just kind of save this move in the back of my mind. I might do that next. But I want to go ahead and get the rook there because white's king is stuck there. So if you can ever get a rook lined up on a king, I've said it many times on this channel, probably a good idea. Okay, so what are they attacking? Oh, they're attacking my pawn. Do I care about that? Well, let's see. It's defended 1 time. It's attacked 2 times. Okay, so maybe I do care about that. What's an easy solution? C6. All right, so it's a dual purpose move. Defends, and we've talked about it before, lets your queen out. So if you are going to move a pawn besides the center ones, the next best one, in my opinion, is the C pawn. Let your queen out. Okay, so since we put it there, we'll go ahead and recapture. Okay, so my opponent did not see this, or they don't know the value of the points, one of the two probably, but we're just going to take it. It's a free piece. That's why we had our knight there. And you can see how all of our pieces in the center just control so many squares. Like, let's just look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Let's look at all the squares that are controlled by these pieces in the center. This knight can, oops. All of these are controlled. This other knight is controlling all of these. My pawn is controlling here. My bishop is controlling here and here. You see, like, that's a lot of the board that we've got controlled by all of these center pieces. All right, so that's a big deal. All right. We talked about it earlier. The queen was lined up here. I think now seems to be a good time to do that. So I'm just constantly scanning. Can I take stuff? And is my opponent going to take any of my stuff? And that's where I'm coming up with these. Thinking about this. I'm also thinking about the king. There's a checkmate idea. Okay. So here comes the bishop. This is almost checkmate. Not quite, because the knight can block. So there's a couple of ways we could do this. One that looks pretty good to me would be moving my bishop here to pin the knight and threaten checkmate. And I kind of get the bonus that my rook is under attack. There's a good chance my opponent's going to try to take my rook. So this is, it's a little bit more advanced, but really it's not that complicated, right? We would like to go here. It's almost checkmate. There's only one move that can stop it, the knight blocking. So by taking the knight out of the game with the pin, we threaten a simple checkmate. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I mean, there's other good moves too, like there's a fork here, but I'm focusing on the king. And so let's see if we can go get the checkmate. I wouldn't be surprised if our opponent takes the rook. Looks like a nice piece to take. But even if they play some other move, over here, a rook move or a pawn move, our threat is still valid, right? And so you can see that's game over. Okay. All right, let's do another game. And we'll see how high we can get. I was trying to get to 300 in one video, but these rapid ones take a bit longer. Did I just play E3? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. That's okay. We'll play E3 and D4, and we'll just go from there. We might just stop at like 250. Maybe we'll go by 50-point increments, depending on how long this turns out to be. So I'll go ahead and put both pawns in the center. Relatively, I would have liked to have them up here, but I mouse slipped it here. That's okay. So this is a trade that you can make if you want. It's probably slightly better for me to do it, so I'll go ahead and do it. The only real difference here is that black loses castling rights, but it's something. Okay, it is something. And one of the things I'm going to try to do now is actually castle queenside. When I castle queenside, my rook jumps to d1 with an attack on the king. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and move my bishop here and get ready to castle, and then bam, we're going to have a rook lined up on the king, which is pretty nice. Okay, so he's attacking me, but I was going to go here anyway, which also defends my knight, so it's kind of like a win-win. Accomplishes, two things that I want to do anyway. And I'm going to go through with my plan. I'm going to castle. And notice now, my rook, which is, since the queens are off the board, the rooks are now the most powerful pieces on the board. And I have one lined up on my opponent's king. So I'm very happy about that. Okay, I'm going to just scan that. I'm not really worried. It's defended. I don't have a place that I can move my bishop to right now, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. And in the meantime, I'm going to get some pieces out. So let me, either one of these would be fine. I'll just go here just to, kind of put some pressure along this diagonal. And next, I'll probably try to move my knight out. And we'll just kind of keep this idea, in the back of our mind and look for opportunities where that might be a good idea. Okay. Okay, let's continue. So we have all our pieces out. And we have this rook lined up in a great position on the king. Okay, so f6. So probably now I'm going to try to take advantage of this a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is play e4. And why am I doing that? Primarily to unleash the bishop over here, to give myself some threats like this, right? With the check. Also attacks bishop. Okay, so he does go back. So this is what I was talking about. When the rook is lined up, I can basically move this bishop wherever I want and don't have to worry about it getting captured because it creates a check. So because of that, and this maybe is a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to go here. And the idea is simple. I'm going to take this pawn, which is also going to start attacking some other stuff, and I don't have to worry about my bishop getting captured because I have a check. And so you can see how castle and queenside and setting this up, it's finally paying off for us, right? It didn't happen right away. Finally, we get to do this really cool move, and we're going to take this next move. And it's a tricky check for a lot of players at this rating range to see. I would not be surprised if our opponent is trying to capture this bishop right now and wondering why they can't, yeah, they figured it out, but one of those tricky checks. Okay, so we're going to continue with the plan and take the free pawn over here. And I'm anticipating the rook's going to move. If not, I'm going to be taking it. But if it does, then we can take this. And it illustrates, when you have a pawn chain like this, pawns that are connected, if you can attack the base of the pawn chain, that's the weak spot. And once you get that pawn, it just kind of crumbles, right? And that's what we're about to see. Okay, well, I thought we were about to see it. Well, they decided to save the pawn and give up the rook instead. So I will take it. Again, it's 5 points. This is 3 points. Super easy math. I don't really need to think through that too much. I'll take it. And now that I am ahead material, trading is going to be good news for me. So I'm going to look for opportunities to potentially trade. And a couple of ways I could do that. I could just take this. I could play a move like knight to d5 and try to force a trade here. I don't know if I want to give up this pawn, though. So, if I go here, it's no longer defended. With that in mind, maybe I bring this rook over and just use it to defend. So now I can move my knight without having to worry about this. And notice how I'm trying to use all of these big pieces, right? And so, okay, I talked about trading. I think I'll go ahead and do it now. Maybe bishop c4 is probably a better move, but in an effort to just simplify the position, I'm trading off as much as I can. Let's play a3. We'll give black the option to trade here, right? And like I said, when you're ahead, you have the better pieces, right? These 3 pieces compared to these 3 pieces, mine are better because I have the rook. Trading is good. Okay, opponent doesn't want to trade, which is actually a smart decision. It's actually a good move by our opponent. So I'm not going to let it get to me, though. I'm going to keep looking for ways to trade. And I see one option here is to go and attack this bishop and trade off my knight for a bishop. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, they can go here, but I can simply block that and keep attacking it with my pawns. And I'm not, yeah, there you go. So I think I will do that. I'll just play f3, and I'm planning to play g4 and trap the bishop, force it to go back there, and then I can trade it off. One thing about this position, it's very closed off. So like black has this kind of blockaded, or rooks can't really get through. Um, and when you have positions like that, you kind of just have to take it slow. And even though this is kind of a slow plan, try to force a trade over here, it's a plan that I can do. And so I'm gonna just do that. So basically, like I mentioned, bishop's gonna have to either get captured for a pawn or go back, and I have the option to take it. There is another move here, bishop here, but that's a tricky move for black to find. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a solid move. So this is a good opportunity to really think through what's going on. I have one threat. Black has two threats on me. So what are my options? And this is really how you want to think in chess when you're in a position like this. You want to, in your mind, list out all of the options, start at the top, and then work your way down and figure out which is best for you. That's chess in a nutshell. List out your options, start at the top of the list, which one's best for you, right? Now, it's obviously infinitely more complicated than that because even just listing out the options is not always simple. And then all the calculating involved in each of those lines, sometimes you make mistakes. That's why chess is difficult. But in this case, this is a pretty simple example. So what are the options? 1, I take the bishop. 2, I save my knight. Maybe I just move it back here or move it over here, something like that. And 3, I save my rook. Okay? Those are the three. You could argue that there's other moves, but those are the three important ones, right? That have to do with the captures and stuff. Number 1, if I take the bishop, is that good or bad for me? Well, I get 3 points. Okay, that's good. My opponent might get 3 points. That's a trade. I wanted to trade anyway, and then I would have time to move my rook. I'm happy with that. Okay, so far this is looking pretty good. If I take here, but he takes my rook, then I've gotten 3 points. I've lost 5 points, but it's my turn. And guess what? I can get 3 more points. So I got 3 and 3 is 6, and I lost 5. That's good for me. I got 6 points. I lost 5 points. Okay, so having analyzed the first option, that seems pretty good. But let's keep going. What if I move my knight away? What's black most likely going to do? Take my rook. Okay, they get 3 points. Let's say I take it. I'm sorry, they get 5 points. Let's say I take it. I get 3 points. Then they save their bishop. What happened there? I lost 5. I got 3. That's not a good trade for me. That's a net loss of 2 points. So I'm not loving this move, right? Okay, so we've kind of analyzed this. We've analyzed this. And if I just move the rook somewhere, let's just say I move it here. Bishop's going to take me. And then I'm going to take this 3 for 3. That's a trade. So that one seems okay. So with that in mind, we analyze 1, 2, 3 moves. I do not want to play this one, right? Because that's the one where I lose points. The other two seem to be fine. So with that in mind, and since this one actually gave black the option to mess up and go for this trade where I get 6 points for 5, that seems to be the best one. So I'll take the bishop. So that was a lot of work. It obviously took longer because I was talking through everything. You would do it faster if you're just thinking about it yourself in your head. That's chess in a nutshell right there. That was a good example, that position. Okay, see, our opponent didn't calculate the points correctly. If they would have calculated the points correctly, they would have said, well, I lost 3, but I can get 3. That's even. But if I do this, I'm losing both bishops, which is 6 points, and I'm only getting 5. I'm losing a pawn worth 1 point, right? They didn't calculate it correctly. We got a little bit more of an advantage there, okay? So that was kind of a medium complexity position, right? It wasn't super complicated, but it was a little bit tricky, right? And sometimes you have positions where it's like, oh, you have like 6 moves, and each move is like, well, which can I even keep track of, like which points I'm winning and losing, and how do I come out on top? That's where chess gets difficult. All right, so I mentioned it before, but that time in your head, 3-minute mark, we're there. I have to start playing a little bit faster. I'm going to go here. I'm trying to trade pieces. I am going to potentially lose 1 pawn worth, but because I'm so far ahead and I'm lower on time, that simplifies the game for me. It's worth it to, to get the trade. All right. I'm going to just make a move here. Centralize my knight. Put it in a nice central square where it's attacking stuff and has lots of options. You can't go wrong with that. It's defended. And like I mentioned, I have options. Okay. And there we see the knight that I just moved there can take the pawn. So in a game like this, it's towards the end of the game. I'm clearly ahead, but how do I win, right? How do I finish off the game before I run out of time? The easiest thing is to create a passed pawn. That's a pawn that can go and get a queen. I don't have any right now. This pawn is going to get stuck. This pawn is going to get stuck. Going to get stuck. They're all going to get stuck. This one would get captured, right? So that's my plan. Make a passed pawn. So I'm going to bring my rook over. This is a very powerful piece. I'm going to start using it. I'm going to probably come down here. Try to take these pawns. And then I would have 3 passed pawns. I can simply get a queen and hopefully win the game. Okay, so that's very simple and easy strategy that's very difficult for my opponent to stop. And I don't really risk running out of time because this is super easy to do. I just go and attack the pawns, right? I can take that one too. Okay, he defends that one. I will actually modify my strategy and say, okay, I don't have to get these pawns. This one will work just as well. So let's do that. Now I have a pass pawn here. Okay, so notice how I'm adapting as the game goes on, right? And that's important. You want to adapt. Okay, check my king. My king's okay, because if he goes here, I'll just take it. But, if you imagine if black's king was here, I would have to watch out. That could be checkmate, right? But it looks fine. I'll take this guy. And again, we have some passed pawns now that we can use. And that's going to be the simplest thing. Okay, black might be going for what I just mentioned. Might be. So I'm going to keep that in mind. And I'm going to be ready. The king marches its way over here. And that's what black is doing, it looks like, right? So I have a plan in mind. I'll show you guys. Okay, black is trying to checkmate me. So this is important, right? That's what I told you guys. The king. You can't get checkmated in one move. That's what's about to happen, right? That is what's about to happen. So my plan that I had thought about ahead of time, there's 2 of them actually. Block with the rook, which is defended by the knight, or block with the knight back here. This one, then the pawn's going to attack me. So I think I'll just go with this one. But it shuts down the rook from checkmating me. Very clever by my opponent, though, I've got to say. Props to them for seeing that idea, right? And that just goes to show you can play like the whole game really, really well. And then if you miss this one idea, you lose. That's simple. You just lose. So keep that in mind. The entire game, you have to stay on top of it and not miss those ideas. Okay, I'm going to play b4 for 2 reasons. Number 1, it defends my knight. Number 2, it gives my king some breathing room, right? So I don't have to worry so much about getting checkmated like we just saw. Okay, I want to get a queen. The problem is the rook is there. So what do you do when that's happening? Try to shut down the rook. So I'm going to come over here and block it off with my rook. Okay? And if I can block it off, this is an important idea at the end of the game. When you have rook endings, you can block off the ranks or the files that the rooks are controlling. It stops what they're doing. Now, I couldn't just go there right here. He would just take me. But here, it's defended. So you see the difference, right? So that's what I'm going to do. And now black is in trouble. Because if they take me, I take back and get a queen. If they move somewhere else, I still get a queen. Either way you look at it, okay? All right. We will get the queen. And now once I have a queen, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either look for checkmates. You can look for just more things to capture. Or if it's still tricky and you're still not sure, you can get another queen, right? That's an option. Looks to me like there's going to be checkmate here pretty soon because my knight is kind of helping. And the rook and the queen. And so I think I'm just going to go straight for the checkmate. Bring the rook down. He's got a couple of escape squares, but yeah, it's looking very much like a checkmate. So I'm not going to worry about getting an extra queen in this case. I'm just going to use my queen and rook and finish off the game here. Okay, let's go here. And I want to just ask myself, do I have to worry about stalemates? But no, I don't. Black has a lot of pieces that they can move, so I'm not going to worry about a stalemate. And I do see a checkmate here. Okay, so great. I think that was a good illustration of the end of the game there, of how to win that. My opponent did play well, though, and came up with that very clever idea. All right, guys, I was going to try to go all the way to 300, but I have to go, and I don't want this video to get too long, so we'll just pick it up in the next part. So we made it to 234, so, or no, plus 6. Okay, 240, so our new rating is 240. So anyway, I hope you guys learned something here, and I'll see you as we continue. Like I said, we're going to go from 200 to 2200, so you're going to get all kinds of instructive games like this. So I'll see you guys next time as Peter Potzer continues his rating climb. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.